वाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Hare Krishna. Today we will be discussing from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, text 46. Yavan ardha udapane sarvatah samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanatah. So Krishna says, Yavan ardha udapane. Udapa means a well, a water well. Yavan ardha, whatever is the use, whatever we can use from the well. Sometimes we use the well for drinking water, or washing vessels, washing clothes. So like that, in so many ways, we use the water in the drinking well. Like Prabhupada says, in villages typically, they identify different wells for different purposes. Oh, this well is used for, let's use this well for washing vessels. This is used for washing clothes. This is used for drinking. This is used for bathing, and so on and so forth. So yavan ardha udapane sarvatah, and that purpose, sarvatah, all those purposes, samplutodake. So if you go to a river, all those purposes can be fulfilled. You can wash your clothes, you can take bath, you can drink water. All the purposes, all the different purposes served by these different wells. Yavan ardha udapane sarvataha, all of those can be served by samplutodake, a great reservoir of water. Or in other words, if you have $1 million, then you have $100, you have $1,000, you have $10, you have $1,000,000, everything. So yavan ardha udapane sarvatah samplutodake. All the purposes served by a small well can be served automatically by a big reservoir of water, like a river. Similarly, tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanatah. You have two paths. Either one, know all the Vedas separately, like going to the one well, second well, third well, and try to understand. So similarly, go through the Vedic literature, Karma Kanda, Gnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda, and all of those. There is a path chalked out in the Vedic literature that Krishna had been discussing in the previous verses. Either you can do that, or you can understand the purpose of all the Vedic literature just by Brahmanasya Vijanataha. Brahmanasya means the Supreme Brahman, Krishna. Krishna is the Parabrahman. So Brahmanasya refers to the Supreme Absolute Truth, Krishna. If you know Krishna, Vijanataha, Brahmanasya Vijanataha, Tavan Sarveshu Vedeshu, you understand the purpose behind all the Vedic literature. So you don't have to go hop by hop, stage by stage, going through karma kanda and all those things. So at with one stroke, by focusing on Krishna, by taking to Krishna consciousness, Brahmanasya Vijanataha Tavan Sarveshu Vedeshu. And that's what Krishna also mentions in 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyaha. Of all the Vedas, I am to be known. So basically, self-realization means understanding Krishna and our eternal relation with Him. So if we can do that, then all these are superfluous, are not needed. So if you have river, you don't need to go to well. If you understand Krishna, I take to Krishna consciousness, surrender to Krishna, you don't have to go through all these things. So one time, so that means when you know Krishna, then it is understood that you knew everything. So Prabhupada, one time he was visiting maybe New York or some place. So a reporter came and asked him, so can you tell me how many windows are there in this city of New York? Or some such crazy question he asked. So that means the idea is that, oh, if you claim that you have realized God by dint of which you know everything, so you should be able to tell all these answers. Sometimes when you know Krishna, you know everything. They think like this. So Prabhupada gave a beautiful answer. So he said, it doesn't matter or it is inconsequential to understand and know how many drops of water are there in a mirage. It's a beautiful answer, isn't it? In a mirage is non existing. It's an illusory reflection of the sun on the sand, which appears as water. And if you start to count the drops of the water in the mirage, it doesn't really matter because it is a mirage, it's not water. So how does it matter? You try to understand the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord in this material world. You may try to understand more and more. You will still be in this material world. It's inconsequential. Rather, you understand the Supreme Lord, Supreme Reality Krishna. This is a perverted reflection. The Supreme Reality is in the spiritual world. This is a temporary material world. So one time, one student, we were studying in college. So there was this open book test. If you are familiar with this is one of the hardest tests. So every time and again, the professor conducts this open book tests. That means you can bring your textbook. You can bring any kind of book, your notes, everything. There will be a question paper. The question will be given. You can refer to anything, any place, and you can write the answer. And inevitably, people do very badly in those tests. Because it's not theory. You need to have the ability to absorb that concept, and you need to be able to write it. And if you start to refer to the textbook for the template answer, you won't get it. And people would waste their time and all of that. So one student, he was joking after we wrote the exam very badly. And he said, these open book tests, the only way you can crack those tests is if the person who gave the paper, the professor himself comes and sits with you and tells you the answer. Only then you can write the answer. So he was joking like that. So the point is that if you know the professor, or if you have the professor with you, similarly, if you have Krishna with you, you can easily pass the test of this world. You know everything. Whatever you need to know, even if you learn the complete book, you will not be able to find the answer. But if you know the professor, you can get the answer. If you have understood the professor's intent, you can get the answer. Similarly, this material world is like a test. You cannot easily pass it. Duratyaya. Daivihi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. Mamevaye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. But if you surrender to Krishna, you can easily cross beyond it. So whatever you need to know to cross this material world, Krishna provides. So Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayantite. For a devotee engaged in his devotional service, always, Krishna provides buddhi yogam, that intelligence by which he can understand everything, how things work, how he can cross this material existence. Then that means he knew everything, he knows everything, the summary of it. He doesn't need to go and find out each and everything, because Krishna is there with him, who lights the lamp of knowledge. The other aspect of understanding, knowing Krishna means knowing everything. Prabhupada, he clarified in one of the conversations. He says, Krishna is unlimited, God is unlimited. We cannot become like God. We can never be God. God is God. We are infinitesimal sparks, parts and parcels. So we cannot know as much as Krishna knows. But we can know as much as Krishna permits us to know. Krishna wants us to know, in order to, as I said, cross this material existence, or to achieve in his service. Whatever we need to know, Krishna will equip us. And so Prabhupada said, if you understand and know what your spiritual master teaches you, coming in disciplic succession from Krishna, that is also knowing everything. Knowing everything means within your boundary, what is given by the spiritual master, you know that much. That means knowing everything. So the message is that we don't have to try to lead life trying to assimilate knowledge from everywhere, trying to go step by step and reach the highest perfection. By one stroke, we can reach the highest perfection. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells this story of a poor man. He goes to this astrologer for an advice. And this astrologer's name is Sarvagna. Sarvagna means who knows everything. So this astrologer looks at his astrology and tells this poor man, you know what, you are very rich. And this poor man says, "Oh, how come you are saying I am rich? I am very poor, I don't have anything." And this Sarvagna says, no, I see that your father is very rich and he has a hidden treasure for you. He has hidden a treasure for you near your house. And then this poor man starts to light up and he's becoming bright faced and he's becoming optimistic. And can you tell me where to dig? He wants to run and start to dig around the house. Where is the treasure? He said, no, wait. I have to give you some caution. So what is that? Don't go and dig on the southern side. Oh, I was planning to do that. That was the most likely location where my father would have hidden the treasure. No, don't dig on the southern side. You'll be attacked by a wasp. Dakshina. And, then should I go and dig on the north? He said, no, don't dig even on the north. You'll be swallowed by a giant serpent. Oh my God. Thank God you told me all this. And then he's itching now. He wants to go and dig on the west. And the Sarvagna said, no, don't dig on the west also. You'll be attacked by a ghost. Oh my God, then the only location is east. Should I even do that, or should I just sit silent and wait for the treasure? He said, no, go and dig on the east. There you will find the treasure. So this is an analogy. When we say southern side, he says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the story, don't go and dig on the southern side. Southern side is also called Dakshina, we say. Dakshina also represents the Dakshina we give to a priest. So that means when you call a priest to your home and conduct some kind of a ritual, karma kanda ritual, for health or for happiness, for higher planets, for going to higher planets, there's so many material benefits you want to get by doing these rituals, by offering a dakshina to the priest. So this Dakshina or southern side represents these rituals or karma kanda. Why is it considered a wasp? You'll be attacked by a wasp because when you are stung by this wasp, which is the pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease. So by following this karma kanda, you will live in this material world only. You may go to higher planets, but you will have to come down again after the end of it. Kshine punya martya lokam vishanti. And if you commit sinful activities, you will go to the lower species and lower planets. And in this way, you will remain in this pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease, stung by that wasp of karma kanda. So don't go to karma kanda. And on the west, don't dig on the north. You'll be swallowed by a giant serpent, which represents the impersonal yoga. People follow this yoga systems, meditation, by which they say ultimately everything is impersonal. You will go and merge into impersonal. So that is like getting swallowed, merged into the giant serpent. Don't go to this dhyana path by these yogis, pseudo yogis. And don't dig on the west. West represents you will be attacked by a ghost. This represents the gnana path. Gnana path means the ghost of mental speculation. You'll be attacked by mental speculation. You'll be consumed, and you will also you'll miss out the opportunity. By your so-called speculation, you'll go away from Krishna, away from the treasure. So the only viable side where you have to dig to get the treasure is dig on the east side, where the sun rises, Krishna rises. That represents the bhakti process. Only by bhakti, kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayanaha agham dhunvanti katsyena niharam yava bhaskaraha. Just only by bhakti, all these other things can be overcome. So that is the advice from the Vedic literature. Don't go through this karma kanda, gnana kanda, as Narottam Das Thakur says. This karma kanda, gnana kanda, sakali vishera bhanda. It is like the pot of poison. So if you consume poison, you are dead. So that is why intelligent people, they just focus on Krishna. Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyaha. And Prabhupada also concludes that in the purport, revival of Krishna consciousness by the individual living entity is the highest perfectional stage of Vedic knowledge. So one doesn't have to worry. Sometimes the devotees ask me a question, Prabhu, so you're asking me to chant, you worship Krishna. Then what about my other rituals, other vartas I do, other demigods I worship? This is our culture, isn't it? So I tell him, I point to them to this shloka, Brahmanasya vijanataha tavan sarveshu vedeshu. If you understand Krishna, you understand everything. If you focus on reviving your Krishna consciousness, that is the purpose of all the Vedic literature. And once who has come to that stage doesn't have to go through all of this again. And there are umpteen Vedic references which prove that. Like Prabhupada quotes one. Aho bataswapachoto gariyan yajjihvagre vartate namatubhyam te pustapaste juhuvuhu sasnurarya brahmanuchur namagrinanti ete. So what it means is, say if you have taken up Krishna consciousness and you are not following any of the Vedic rituals and Devata Aradhana, different vratas, all these kind of practices, Sandhya Vandana, tapas, snana in holy rivers, you are not doing all of that, charity, austerities, but only focusing on Krishna consciousness, primarily chanting the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, you will become so glorified that it is said that anybody who is chanting Krishna's name, anybody whose tongue vibrates Krishna name resides on the tongue. Yad jihvagre vartate nama tubhyam. Krishna's name, Nama, vartate exists on the tip of one's tongue, Yad jihva. That person, even though he may be born in a dog eater family, he may be born in a Sudra family or Chandala family or any lower family, what to speak of other lower species, it doesn't matter. He becomes Gariyan, he becomes the best. He is understood to have performed Tepus tapaste juhuvuhu sasnur arya brahmanuchur namagrananti ete. Such a person must have performed all kinds of penances, all kinds of sacrifices according to Vedic rituals, studied Vedic literatures for many, many times after taking his, and then who has taken his bath in holy places of pilgrimage. So that is the position of the person who just chants the holy name of Krishna. It's not ordinary. In order to be able to chant the holy name of Krishna, if Krishna's name resides on the tongue, that person is the best person. This is a Shastra is saying. There are many, many verses like this throughout the Shastra. Yannamadheya Shravananukirtanat Yat Prahvanad Yat Smaranadapi Kvachit Swadopi Satyah Syavanaya Kalpate Kutah Punaste Bhagavannu Darshanat. So, yan Namadheya, whose Namadheya? Krishna's Nama, Shravana Anukirtanat. If you hear and chant or remember, Smaranadapi Kvachit, Swadopi, even if that person is a dog eater in the previous life or in this life, previous practices. Savanaya Kalpate, he becomes qualified, he becomes the best of the Brahmanas, qualified to conduct Vedic rituals, Vedic sacrifices. So, the chanting of the holy name is so powerful. It is so fortunate. It transcends any Vedic ritualistic fruitive karma kanda methods. You don't have to go through any of this. It is understood that you have performed all of those. Like Prabhupada gives a wonderful example. If one is sitting as a high court judge, then it is understood that he has already passed the lower stages. He has studied law, he has done internship, he has done that, all these things that are required for becoming qualified to become a high court judge. He doesn't have to go through all of those. Somebody may ask, so anybody who chants, that means they have already done all of that? So all these Paschatyas, Mlechas, Yavanas that Prabhupada came and gave the holy name, they were born in the Western countries, they have no idea about our Vedic culture, and now they are chanting Hare Krishna. That means in the previous lives they have done all of that? Or any person for that matter, anybody who is chanting Hare Krishna, they have done all of this in the previous lives? Yes, that's what Shastra says. The other beautiful thing is, even if they have not done it, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is that he made them qualified. He broke open the storehouse of love of Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Panchatattva, and they distributed this like anything, even to Apamaram, who are not qualified, to those of these Jagais and Madhais, the most sinful living entities of this world. They have distributed, and following in the disciplic succession from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada also went to the West, found these Jagais and Madhais. Not that we are saints. All of us are, who are born in Kali Yuga, we have our own misgivings. We are all sinful in our own ways, like the Jagais and Madhais. And even though we may not be qualified, We may not have done all of these things in the previous lives. The pure devotee, out of his causeless mercy, gave the holy name, explained the importance of the holy name, inspired us to chant the holy name. Like sometimes you are given a doctorate, even though you have not done the PhD, isn't it? Somebody out by dint of their achievements, they are given, or out of honor, they are given doctor, even though they have not done the PhD. So, like that, even though we may not have got all these previous qualifications, the pure devotee made us qualified. And now we have to take it up and value it and chant the holy name Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's not ordinary, it is the highest perfection mentioned in the Vedic literature. One time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to Benares, Varanasi, and he was singing and dancing. Being a sannyasi, those days sannyasis, even now, apart from Vaishnava sannyasis, they always engage in mental speculation, reading Vedanta, austerities. They don't participate in this kind of, they consider this as sentimental singing, dancing. This is meant for those who are not educated, those who are emotional, and those kind of sentimental people. So, this Varanasi is the seat of all great sannyasis. They were criticizing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. See, this sannyasi has taken sannyasa from our sampradaya, but he is, instead of reading Vedanta, he is like a sentimental fool. He is singing and chanting Hare Krishna. And so one gentleman, he conducts a meeting between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and them. And there they ask this question to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why are you doing this? Why are you not following our path of reading Vedanta? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, so my guru, he saw me a great fool. Just imagine Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord, the best of the scholars who defeated Digvijay Pandit and great scholars in his time. He said, oh, my spiritual master saw me a great fool. Guru more murkha dekhi karilo shashan. So, what is the shasana he gave? You just take the chanting of Hare Krishna. That is the highest. In Kali Yuga, nobody has enough scholarship to go through Vedanta and understand and come to the highest conclusion, which is again to chant Hare Krishna. So you don't have to go through all of that. Take chanting Hare Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proves them by scriptural quotations and by personal experience how chanting has changed him altogether, gave him so much of ecstasy. And he went back to the spiritual master and told him, and the spiritual master applauded him. You got the ultimate result of chanting the holy name, which is the love of Krishna. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proves that chanting of Hare Krishna is the highest. Once you get there, you don't have to go through any of these lower methods. And automatically the devatas become satisfied. When Krishna becomes pleased, everybody becomes pleased. So I'll stop here. Anyone has any questions or comments? You can unmute yourself. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai, Srila Prabhupada